5 seconds to go. Start. So, this extraordinary change which has happened today in our country, this is riding on the digitization of India. That the manner in which today we have been able to vastly expand public services, we can actually, if I had said a decade ago that there is a serious problem because one of the preconditions to being even looked at as Viksit is you should have some kind of social welfare system. I mean, what happens in a developed society. Your health is taken care of, your education is taken care of, your road connections are there, your water is there, your electricity is there. You do not have to bribe somebody to get your pension. You do not have to fix a postmaster to get your payment in or your bank manager to get that. Today, all of that is happening. I mean, the one thing which I say this very openly. All of us who went abroad for the last 30-40 years, what would we come back and say? Well, those countries there is no corruption because in the daily life of the citizen, when we went abroad, we did not have to pay money for a driving license or to get a stamp on some document or to get a payment into something. That is today happening in this country. So it is actually had an enormous impact in terms of good governance. But I would say it is made a very big difference in terms of optimizing your resources and creating what will be a social welfare state in the making. If you just look at the numbers today, we are actually able to cover a third of our people in terms of health services. We are able to actually capture two-thirds of our people in terms of food sport, a third of our people in terms of direct financial transfers. And certainly, what is a like what you might say a minimum, it used to, roti, kapada, and makan, that will no longer be the minimum. That would be actually a done deal because only when it is done deal can we actually even seriously talk of a Viksit Bharat, and it will happen as a done deal if the Awas Yojana, if the Jal Jeevan Mission, if actually the electricity connection, Sobhagya, if our telecom, because telecom has been a fantastic enabler of this, that when we assess the totality of this last decade, I would actually suggest to you, we are today looking after our citizens from pre-birth, already the Asha worker comes and you start getting prenatal care through pensions. That is Viksit Bharat in the making. And at the same time, it is not that it is for some people, it is not in towns and not in villages, or not in some states and not in others, or not in some districts and not in others. We actually today are, this belief that no one left behind is actually happening in real life. And I can tell you this, I mean, those of you who travel to the remoter areas of this country, you will see that what our services, services are not anymore to only the more accessible places. Nothing is anymore inaccessible. not inaccessible physically, definitely not inaccessible digitally. And that, to my mind, is really why we should be confident for the next 25 years. So now, while I describe all of this, I would also say in this last decade there has been a big mindset change. And I was reading something which badminton player PV Sindhu had written, and she asked actually a very interesting question. Why Prime Minister Modi, who is a little older than me, should be such a youth icon? And she answers her own question, which is he said he has an attitude which the youth likes, which is kaise nahi hoga. There is no challenge we cannot. And today it is that mindset, when there will be all that I have described to you, the processes, the foundations, the investment, the technologies. But when you look at, let us say, the last year, 2, 3 years, when you look at a G20 where we were able to pull off a successful summit, creating a consensus which very few people would actually believe happened even on the day when we actually did it. When you look at the way we handled COVID, the fact that we were able to produce vaccines on scale, the fact we were able to distribute it in a very effective way, the fact that we just did not do Make in India, we also did Invent in India, the fact that we were able to do something like Chandrayaan, that we not just went to the moon, we went to a particularly difficult part of the moon. Or, as I said, for years we heard that if you wanted to move into 5G, there were two sources. You either had to go to China or you had to go to Europe. Today we are deploying our own 5G stack. So, in each of these cases, or even how we respond to what is happening outside, when the more people go out, statistically, it is likely they will have more problems. But increasingly, you can see that wherever there is a situation, the tendency is saying, our people, we have to find a way, we have to solve their problem. So, when you look at an Operation Ganga in Ukraine or an Operation Ajay, which just happened in Israel, or an Operation Kaveri in Sudan, people today have that security that the mindset of India has changed. That today we are a country that will not only look after our people at home, we will also look after our people abroad. And if our people get into trouble abroad, we are perfectly prepared to deploy all our national assets to actually go and bring them back safely. So I put it to you that and again, I would like you to see it in the biggest possible, widest possible way, that when I look today at the buzz around innovation, the interest in skills, I even look at something like fitness. That if you see actually the emphasis on fitness in our own society in the last 10 years, it has grown. And it has not just grown, it has actually, you can also see it in the results of our sports performance abroad at an international level. So, if you have a fit society, a skilled society, an innovative society, a society which says there is no challenge which I cannot rise to, one which is confident of finding its solutions, I think you are now on the journey towards a victory. And to do that, I would just say that we must do the reforms we should, not just the reforms we must. That the change which must happen must not be minimal, it must not be grudging, It must not be knee jerk. It must not be reactive. It should be strategic, it should be planned. We should have a clear sense of where we are going. And we have to, plan it like you would plan a business. I mean, the nation should have a plan on where it wants to go. And today, when the government puts a lot of these initiatives across, when we say a Viksit Bharat Sankalp, there is a Sankalp Yatra today about which the Prime Minister spoke. This is actually the Yatra we would like the entire country, the entire society to make for the next 25 years. Now, many of you also know there has been a little bit of a debate about the word Bharat. So, some people have taken it as a linguistic debate, some people have taken it as a political debate. I want to give you my two bits worth. To me, Bharat is actually a belief and an attitude. For me, Bharat has an economic dimension, it has a political meaning, it has cultural, social, I would say, even personal expressions. So, let me explain to you what I mean. At the end of the day, to me, the term Bharat means do not let other people define you, try and define yourself. But it has to come from itself because that very term Bharat, which is so laden with symbolism, actually captures, it captures centuries of what we are all about as a people. Stop.